This is a little area in my garden which sits right out from the kitchen window. We look at it all the time, and I've kind of used a lot of foliage plants around here, but I really have for many years wanted to create an ornamental pond here. Just a little pond, but something that would have a little bit of water movement and maybe some water plants in it, just to bring another dimension and life to this area. So that's what I'm actually going to do today. So the first process is just to dig a rough hole in the approximate shape of the pond. So I've really just completed that now, and now what I have to do is just go in with the level and just fine tune this, because water sits level. So while you can dig a rough hole, you've actually got to just work to some levels. Now we're not building a rocket ship, so it doesn't have to be, you know, completely smooth, but I've got to get an approximate level because, as I've said, your water sits level and it's going to be what holds the liner in place. So I'm just trying to dig a little trench behind here. So you can start to see the formation of that top ridge, which I'm going to keep a level on. If I could see my level. So, you know, this has got to come down a little bit, and this has just got to be finessed up a bit. Now, I'm using kind of the crushed rock to do that, and a little bit of the clay, but the crushed rock will not subside, which is fine. And I've got my little trench at the back, so I've just got to do that all the way around the pond. Bear with me. This out, and that sort of forms my trench. So what I've done now is I've got my bottom hole, I've got my terrace for my rocks, and then I've got my top lip. It's the top lip that has to be level. Now I use the bricky sand to actually help me get a top level. And so I've just been putting this around. I want to put it over the edges a little bit, but it's mainly just about getting me a nice top which is level. Then I just check with my level and just make sure that that is level. Check that in a few spots, which is good, and I can check it across the front. So we now have a level top. The only thing you add to your level top is you put one point in it that is a little drain point. So because this doesn't have any official outlet to the storm water, so if we get a lot of rain filling this pond up, I want to direct that to a particular point. So I'm just going to carve a little groove in here, and that groove is going to be my weak spot, and that's going to take the water just out to a garden bed. I mean, this is a very small pond. We're never going to have a major water problem, but I've directed it away from the house. I've directed it to a low point of the garden where, believe it or not, there's some agricultural drains which will ultimately mean the water will get away. So, but what we now have is we have our top, which is approximately level. The other reason we use sand is because I'm about to put a PVC liner down, and we use the sand as a bit of buffer between the PVC liner and any sharp bits from our hole or a little bit of stone that might have cribbed in there. It's just a PVC black liner. We need black because it reflects the light. We don't want a white or a clear liner. This is just of a heavy duty quality. It's really very cheap and very simple. And we just spread it out over our hole. Okay, so we've loosely cut this pond into the shape. Now what I have to do is tuck it in to this trench, but what's important is I'm going to fill that with stone and a bit of weight to hold that in. Because it's a round pond, every now and again we just have to fold the plastic, and it just becomes a seam that you'll never see, but it's just to counterbalance this excess of liner that we'll have as we move around a radius. So what I've got to just do now is make sure that the liner actually is fitting all the terraces, and just making sure that the terraces aren't under tension from the PVC liner. And I just go around the edges and I just trim off any of the excess, and that's just to kind of clean that up. because one thing, we do not want to see any plastic at the end of this process, and that's all going to be hidden. Okay, so, and you can see that I've got my terrace in there. So I'm now ready, which is the really exciting bit, to start placing rocks in on this terrace. And I'm going to use some of my big beautiful rocks first. We've just got to be very careful that we're not causing any stress to the liner. So making sure there's no sharp objects there. And then you put your first rock in, and that can sit in here like that. Now, got to try and stay off that level. Okay. Now if I put that one in there, I can put another one kind of in there like that. Just making sure my liner is okay. And you see, that can actually sit on top of the liner. Then I'm going to get my little pebble, and my little pebble starts to work in around here as well. And all it is, it's about hiding that liner. So, and I'm going to work my way all around there to hopefully finish up with that sort of finish. And my water level is going to sit about here. If it ever filled up, then I've got that low point in the liner that it would actually run out on. So I'll just spend a bit of time now getting some of my rocks in place. I suppose one thing we should just mention is that you don't want to use all your big rocks in the one spot. So, you know, you place some of your key stone first, and then you build up around those. I've also got some of these, some of my favourites are the purple, and I want to spread those around a little bit. Now these are kind of flat rocks, and they'll sit quite nicely on the top, but I need the ones with a bit of height to sit in on that terrace. And then using my lovely Delitite river pebble to then fill in the edges. So the piece de resistance is to put this beautiful lotus lily in the middle of the pond. And truth be known, the whole reason I wanted this pond was to be able to grow this beautiful, beautiful plant. Sadly, it's finished flowering, but it has these most beautiful, big, pink budded lotus flowers, and they are just gorgeous. And then it produces these remarkable seed pods. And of course, the lotus lily, or Nelumbo as its botanical name, is been sort of a famous plant connected to the Buddha, and sort of a lot of spiritual organisations see it as their symbol of new life and life. So I'm going to place this right in the centre of our pond. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. Now, they say that Nelumbo needs about 60 centimetres water depth, but I went along to Blue Lotus, who sells these, and you can get much smaller Nelumbo or lotus lilies, and you can grow them in a minimum of 200 ml of water. But I worked this out to be about 600 deep, and that was really the main reason I made the pond as deep as it is. So the only thing left to do now is to actually fill our pond. So while it wasn't easy work, a couple of hours, and we've got a little ornamental pond, and it allows me to grow this beautiful lotus lily. We can look out the kitchen window, and just having the presence of water in a little courtyard like this just brings life and movement. And quite often the birds, the chooks, the dog all are drawn to this water hole, really. So yeah, give it a go at home. It's really just not that hard. The last little thing that I would encourage is that when you've got still water, it can be a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So I just use a little solar pump, which I just happen to have here. There's no sun today, but that has a little pump head. I just sneak it in there, run the wire under these stones, make sure that's getting a little bit of a blast from the sun, and that just reticulates the water, which stops any mosquitoes laying their larvae in there. thing complete. It also gives you that just very lovely soft sound of water moving. We filled this up with just tap water. We saved a little bit of water. Unfortunately, a little bit of clay's got into that water and it's making it a little bit of a murky colour, but really a couple of days that settles. Because we've used the black liner, the water becomes quite dark, which really brings the reflection out on the pond, and it'll be fine.